Welcome back to Gold Derby. Christopher Rosen. I'm joined by Joyce Singh. And Joyce, it's time for another mailbag episode.
Does this one have any games? Like Heart and Soul?
No games, but
Oh,
please,
that was a great game
that's my
last week.
favorite thing of the whole year. Heart and soul of the Oscar season. We should do which movies are life affirming. Email us about life affirming movies this year. And you could do that by emailing us at slugfest@goldderby.com. We'll read your emails. Like this one from Alex Joyce, who's emailed before. Dear Joyce and Chris, there was a recent tweet I saw in response to The Substance getting submitted in the comedy musical category at the Globes that stated the Globes should get another category for horror. I say this as a fan of the split between comedy musical, and drama, but that's already borderline. The Globes do not need more categories, and people don't seem to understand it would further delegitimize horror as a genre medium. Maybe it's just me, but then it would feel like the Globes lose their credibility as an awards body. Not to say that their past demeanors should be forgiven. I'm not an awards or everything person, and I'm not an awards or everything person, but I feel like just adding another category for horror makes it a participation award show. Thank you for reading. That's from Alex.
Is this my burner?
Are you Alex? I don't know.
Yeah, no, we don't need more categories, more awards. Like, I understand you want your fave to do well, but that's just not what life is, really. Like, it's about like that's why part of the prestige of the Oscars is the exclusivity. Right, like there's only 5 slots. Like it's the only one that's not adding 6 slots of all these damn award shows.
Not
Right.
yet.
I was already upset when they expanded Best Picture 15 years ago. I'm like, we don't need this. And now we're having trouble filling out 10 slots in Best Picture. It's, you have to make choices and not everything is going to get in. Your fave is not going to get nominated sometimes, and that's okay. Um, yeah, and I agree. If they were to add genre categories like horror, it people would just be like not they just want to take it seriously. It's like with animated, it's like we have a category for them
Hmm.
and then they're just siloed there forever.
It'd be like the Critics' Choice Awards, Joyce. Then
And they have like what do they call them? Like for like the super awards, right? Or
yeah.
something. They already spun off their own award show for that.
I also don't think The Substance is a horror movie. I know that's like weird. I think we've talked about this before, with like Get Out or like Jordan Peele stuff, and I'm like, it's not really a horror
It's a
movie.
satire.
Yeah, it's gross, and there's like body horror, but it's not like a horror movie. Like Halloween is a horror movie. The Substance
Yes.
is not something that people are gonna watch every
Yes.
Halloween.
No.
It's not that kind of movie. Um, This one's from Jesse, who wrote us at slugfest@goldderby.com. Hi, Joyce and Chris. Hans Zimmer's score for Dune 2 was ruled ineligible this week for the Oscars because of the percentage of pre-existing material used. I'm sure he doesn't actually care all that much about this, but the movie's fans probably care very much, or they will come nominations day when they wonder why it wasn't nominated. Do you think this is a dumb rule? Because it makes complete sense to me. Thanks. That's from Jesse.
I don't think it's dumb.
I don't think it's dumb either. I guess I was wondering like how like this is one I saw and I was like, yeah, but I didn't actually do any legwork to actually see if it was real. But I was like, how come uh like yeah, like John Williams getting it for like Force Awakens, like all these Star Wars
Well,
movies.
yeah, so after this news broke yesterday, Tuesday, because we're recording Wednesday,
Yeah.
that yeah, John Williams catching strays. Because that's
Mm,
what people were going to. It's like, why the fuck is
mhm.
Hans deemed ineligible when like John Williams is just rehashing all his old scores for Star Wars and everything, and Indiana Jones. And it's like, yeah, like, listen, I'm not going to sit here and do the work either, but it's about the percentage. So clearly he
It was
met the
not.
criteria. It's just
Right.
a rule. Like you might not like the score, what
Right.
John Williams did.
Right.
That doesn't mean he broke a rule.
Correct. Uh and they have the rules for a reason. So it is what it
Yes.
is. I'm not
But you
surprised.
can't plagiarize yourself. You can only plagiarize yourself so much.
Right. And even Hans Zimmer talked about this. I think one of the reasons the score is so good for Dune 2 is because it takes the original and is using it in different ways and like kind of builds upon that. And that's what the whole story is. So I do think that was fair. And it's a bummer because I think it's a great score. It won already though, right? And he won for the first one.
Yeah.
I
I mean, I
guess
don't think he was going to win for this again, but you know,
so to spin off of this quickly. we talked about this. Dune had 10 nominations and won 6 Oscars in 2022. Back again this year. Will not get the same 10 if it
It could
maybe
get
gets
10, but not the same 10.
not the same 10. And I'm like, we got some Gladiator 2 questions here, Joyce, which we talked about yesterday, and we'll get to now. I think Gladiator 2 could really steal a lot of the Dune thunder in terms of wins. I don't know.
Yeah, they could definitely split a lot of the craft
Yeah.
categories.
So I think it's going to win a lot less than it did previously. Um, let's do this one. This one was from Jack. Hi, Joyce and Chris. Based on the social media reactions, it seems like Gladiator 2 is not what some people were expecting it to be. What are your first impressions of the film, and what Ridley Scott movie would you say is its closest comparison?
Well, we discussed our thoughts in
Yeah.
yesterday's episode, so you could
Yes.
watch that. We don't need to rehash that here.
One word
But
was
we both loved it.
great.
Just an unserious and perfect film all around.
Well, you mentioned this again, I guess, yesterday about like how some people, it seemed like people maybe didn't know what to expect. I guess I find that hard to believe because I'm like, it's not like the first Gladiator is like Schindler's List.
Yeah, well, this is what I was also touching on yesterday too. I feel like because the first one won Best Picture and it's been 24 years, people are looking through like rose-colored glasses and they
Mhm.
think it was like a more acclaimed or better movie than it was at the
Mhm.
time or how it was received at the time. Like it's a good movie. I haven't rewatched it yet, but I enjoyed it back then. But I don't know. I think like people like, think because it won that it's just more highbrow than it is when it's just a completely entertaining middlebrow movie.
Mhm.
Right. And then like you looked up like the Metacritic score or Rotten Tomato scores yesterday too. And again, a different time and different era of film criticism. There are way more people weighing in now whose reviews are Rotten Tomato approved. But it wasn't like the score back then was catastrophically high either
Right.
for Gladiator. It was just a movie, it was a hit movie, a summer blockbuster. And people just loved the movie and they voted for it.
Yes. And which Ridley's movies it most like? I guess we kind of mentioned this too. It feels like the culmination of the last 3 movies that he's made, basically. Napoleon, Last Duel, House of Gucci. But obviously it's also like Gladiator because it's a sequel to Gladiator. Gladiator 2, the eye, like this.
Yeah, I think it's more that like the reactions, I think like people want it to be better than it is too, you know?
Yeah, maybe.
Or like in a way that they could definitively say like it's definitely getting in all these categories at the Oscars.
Right. Another Gladiator 2 on Joyce. I tried to organize them a little this week. This one was from Jack. Hi, Joyce and Chris. Oh, I'm sorry, that was Jack. This one's from Maria. So I didn't do a great job organizing. Hi, Joyce and Chris. I have personally never understood the public's obsession with Paul Mescal, and I say this as someone who enjoyed him in Normal People. But having seen Gladiator 2 earlier this week, I finally understand the appeal. He still does nothing for me personally, but I get it. What do you think of his chances as an Oscar nominee? Is this from Rachel Zegler? Is this her burner?
I don't know, but this is like literally what I said yesterday.
Is this your burner?
I have two burners here.
There was a lot of people at that screening we saw on Monday. Famous people like we discussed, Rachel Zegler, Kenneth
Yeah.
Lonergan, and maybe this is Kenny going
He
under the
was
pseudonym
never into
Maria.
Paul until now.
I mean, maybe. Who knows? Joyce, what do you think?
I mean, you're the one who put him in.
I put him in. I agree with this. I was like, After Sun is not my favorite movie, Joyce. You
Me
can
either.
tell. Not the kind of movie that I would make it through a wake. But I talked to him for it, and did my due diligence. I watched it a couple of times, and he's very good in the movie, and he's a lovely man to interview.
Yeah, he's never been bad in anything he's done.
I loved him in Lost Daughter. I thought he was great. A very
Mhm.
small part. Obviously, Normal People know him from. Uh, All of the Strangers completely adequate. This I was like, Man, maybe I was underestimating him the whole time as a movie star. I just think it's like a real movie star performance. He is
Well,
completely
this is
charismatic,
also his first actual big studio film, you know?
and he really acquits himself so well here. Like I just like loved him in it.
Yeah, I thought he was great. Yeah, I'm also someone who was just like, oh, he's just another actor. I was never enamored with him, but I thought he was great here. I don't know about the Oscars. There, we think, you know, three spots are set. And then, you know, Timmy, still a complete unknown.
I feel like they named it that for this reason, and they're just going to hold it as long as possible.
We're never gonna see it. It's gonna be like how A24 wait until the last minute to give us a trailer for the whale,
Yes,
you know?
yes.
Yeah.
Uh, they're doing the whale playbook on Queer. Let me ask you this.
You just have that one image from Queer.
We kind of do. um, let me ask you this. You mentioned this yesterday. I thought this was like really interesting. So 2 years ago, we were all like, "What is this best actor race? Who's gonna get that last spot? Maybe Tom Cruise for Top Gun Maverick in this like legacy sequel where it's like
And
giant
now
movie
it's Paul.
star." And then Paul got in for After Sun, which was like the passion indie pick that like no one really saw, but obviously had. Now this year, it's like Paul is Tom Cruise, and I was like, I do think the fact that he got in recently, and that I think people take him more seriously than they do Tom Cruise as an actor, even though he's only
Yeah.
made like
Yeah.
3 movies, right? Basically, and he's only started acting like three
How
years
could you
ago.
forget about Foe?
So I'm like, I'm like, I think he could get in because he's like a mix of the populist Tom Cruise, and it's
I
a,
think he needs the film needs to be really big, you know?
I,
Yeah. I think it'll be successful. So I think most people, I think like normies will like it.
I also think he's incredibly helped because the category is weak or soft or whatever you want to say. Not that's not an insult to who's involved in it, but there's just not a lot of depth there. I think in another year, even last year, maybe I wouldn't have even had him close. But this year, I think there's room for him to get in.
Yeah, it'll be funny if he and Timmy both make it in because they're both still under 30, obviously. So they'll have two nominations for Best Actor
Uh,
under 30.
I'm
And you know how allergic the Oscars are to young men in Best Actor.
I'm all but certain that ABC would love for both of them to get in, just to see if anybody will watch this year. This one is from Joe, who emailed us last week, Joyce. I think about the betting odds. You remember he uses us to,
Mhm.
whatever the UK version of FanDuel is.
Yes.
Uh, Open for sponsorships there too. Bet Rivers, any of these apps. Anyway, hi Joyce and Chris. I watched The Substance this weekend, and honestly, it has to be seen to be believed. I agree that it was slightly too long, but both Demi Moore and Margaret Qualley are incredible and give nomination-worthy performances. Although I don't think the Academy will show them any love. I think you could also make the case for director and editing nominations, but I doubt the movie will be strong enough against other more Academy-friendly movies. One thing is for sure, the movie deserves recognition for its use of practical effects. It reminded me heavily of the effects work in The Fly, and seeing Demi Moore as an old hag was horrific. Also, circling back to my email from last week, I've been seeing Gladiator II reviews on film Twitter praising the movie. Just in a pause there, they're not reviews, Joe. They're social reactions.
Yeah, social reactions. Yeah,
Uh,
they
I'm
were encouraged.
growing. I'm growing even more confident in Denzel taking home his third Oscar, and Ridley Scott surely has to be in the conversation for Best Director. Considering he's never won, could the overdue narrative come into play? Now that you've seen it, what are your thoughts? Thanks for taking time to read my email and keep up the great work. That's from Joe in the UK.
I mean, you have him winning.
I got Denzel and Ridley winning. So that's psychotic, but I think Denzel has the better chance between the two of them, personally.
Yes. Yeah, again, like I said yesterday, I don't know what to do with Ridley yet.
Well, I
You
took
can tell
out.
me right now he's getting in, I'll be like, yeah, sounds right. And you can tell me right now he'll be snubbed. I'm like, yeah, also sounds right.
So we discussed this a little yesterday, but Sean Baker and Brady Corbet feel safe. Everyone else is just 52 pickup. You can put any names in there. I have Ridley, I have Jock Audiard, and now I have Pedro Almodovar because I think he could actually get in for Room Next Door, and I think the branch could.
And also because you talked to
Tom Bernard. Uh, Tom Bernard was like this. He was like Tom Bernard was like The Room Next Door is a movie that we think can get multiple nominations in big categories, and he was saying director and obviously Tilda for actress. He mentioned score, which we talked about yesterday, and he also mentioned production design. He was really high on it, which I was
I mean, the
like,
house.
I mean, the house is really cool, and I guess again, if he mobilizes it to the right people, sure. But I just think there's too many other big movies involved where I don't think that'll get as much
Yeah,
shine.
and it's not the same as like The Father in production
Right.
design.
But I do think I was like, I do think Pedro Almodovar could get in because I had Coralie Farjay here for The Substance, but I just think that maybe is a bridge too far, and I think she probably could get in more likely for screenplay if she was going to get in at all. And I guess you could have Denny, but I took him out for Ridley because I just think both. I don't think both of them can survive in this race. So that was I was like, I got to get one out. So I'll take Denny out for Ridley, and I took out obviously Steve McQueen. We don't have in, so I don't know.
I mean, you dropped him weeks ago.
I did. I wonder. I was also. I'm still. I have like Jacques Audiard in fourth. I could. I think there's a world where he could miss. We didn't even mention Edward Berger. We talked about him a lot yesterday. But I could see Jacques Audiard missing too, even if I think Amelia Perez could win Best Picture, which I do. I don't think he's. I don't think his nomination goes whether it wins or not Best Picture. Honestly,
Well, we were talking about a couple weeks ago how this race is lacking an established name.
yes.
You know, it could be Ridley if that branch cares.
That like mentioned this yesterday, but I was like, I really do think if he gets in, I think he could actually win because he is the most biggest name, and it's a movie that's like a lot of fun that I don't think a lot of people actually hate. I think they might be like that was silly or dumb, but they're gonna have a good time with it. Like that, I think is like the worst it could say about it. Um, Whereas some of these other movies, I think, are gonna be like Gladiator, like I said, 75% Rotten Tomatoes, maybe like 6 to 10, a 6 to 8 range. People being like, that was dumb, but I had fun, versus that was great and I had fun. Whereas something like Nickel Boys, I think you're gonna have like that was the best movie I've ever seen, masterpiece shit. And then some people are gonna be like, I walked out. So I think that the polls are different. So I'm like, I do think like main like because it's like a broad movie, like he could win if he gets in, but the branches might ignore him like they have historically.
Yeah, his track record is just not
Yeah.
consistent, so it's really hard to say. We do need to see how it performs with other bodies
Like,
first.
he's
And if
not going to
other,
get any critics praise.
I mean, he's definitely not gonna get any of the trifecta critics awards. I could see like regionals like nominating him, you know, but not winning. He's not gonna win.
And like DGA, possibly, I guess. BAFTA, I think, more likely than DGA, frankly.
I mean, he could get into Critics' Choice if they do like 11 nominees again.
They're going to keep finding nominees until they make sure they get the
Cover the
people they
bases.
want in. Yeah.
I mean, Globes, it's the new Globes.
6 slots. This
I
one's
feel
from
like they're more
Matthew.
likely to do Coralie than
I
him.
think I still have Corley in there. I'm so whatever. This one's from Matthew Joyce. Speaking of BAFTA, hi Joyce and Chris. I was fortunate enough to attend the London Film Festival and see many of the leading contenders in this season's races. Hopefully, you'll be making your BAFTA predictions soon, so you will appreciate these British insights for guidance. Conclave played excellently. It's a lot funnier than expected and proves Edward Berger can deliver pulp as well as seriousness. Isabella Rossellini seems certain for a nomination with how her lines went down. Which categories can Conclave win? Adapted screenplay and score seem likely, but perhaps there will be blowback for the very unsubtle score that Bertelmann previously won for. Blitz was unanimously mediocre, so much so that I'm doubting Roden in supporting actress. I have a hunch that BAFTA voters may feel they should vote for it, but like Killers of the Flower Moon last year, this may not translate into actual voting for it in many categories. Amelia Perez has a party atmosphere, especially in the earlier sections, but Zoe Saldana is, for me, unequivocally the primary lead. Not only that, she makes the most interesting character decisions. Will the Globes and BAFTA move her to lead as placement, and could this open the door to Felicity Jones for the win? And finally, Honora got a rapturous reception, including applause at certain lines of dialogue. That doesn't happen in the more restrained nation of Britain. I have a strong hunch that will win Best Film, Screenplay, Actress, and maybe Director too at BAFTA. Last week you thought Madison will not win Best Actress at BAFTA. Why do you think this? Looking forward to when A Print of the Brutalist makes it to these shores. Hope this isn't too many questions. Best wishes, Matthew. I love this kind of stuff, Joyce. In the room with Matthew at the London Film
At
Festival.
London.
That was really good info. All of this was
I'm
great.
I mean, I think we both expected Conclave to play well with everyone.
Yeah. Uh, and we are like I said yesterday, we talked about it. Isabella Rossellini should be much higher in the odds. She's sixth in the odds, I think.
I mean, that's she's in the top 10. She could only just be in the top
She's
5.
in like the top
Like what?
top four, maybe. The Blitz stuff, LOL, but I'm not surprised. I still have Ronan in at supporting actress, I think. But
I never put her in. I mean, the category certainly has room for her, but I think I agree. Like it's very hard to summon passion for that film. Like there's nothing wrong with the film. It's nice. Again,
I,
that's my word for it. It's nice.
I talked to so most of the people we've spoken to in real life have agreed with us. But I talked to somebody last week who was absolutely enraptured with the movie. She was like, I'm so emotional about it. I can't believe everybody thinks it's like soft.
Is she a
And I was
mom?
like, it wasn't my mom, but it was
No,
another.
is she a mom?
She is a mom. And I was like, I do wonder if that is going to be it. Are we underestimating that kind of voter? And maybe we
A
are because
mom.
a mom voter. Yeah. Like, I do wonder.
It's a mom
Like,
movie.
I've seen like a lot of men patronizing Night Bitch and I don't know if they have if they're parents or not, but I've seen a lot of people patronizing it or loving it and saying, "Man, this is going to really speak to every woman in the academy and every mom." And I was like, I watched and I was like, "This is not it." And I don't think I was like, I don't think even moms would think that. I think that's like really reductive. But Blitz, I think, could be that kind of movie because of, like I do think it is like a mom movie more than a dad movie. And so I was like, maybe it does actually have a renew like a little bit of a bounce, even though it was quote unanimously mediocre according to Matthew at London Film Festival.
Yeah, I mean we talked about this 2 weeks ago now with Blitz. It could just be like Nightmare Alley.
I actually
Like
think
it's like it
yeah.
could still it's like there's room for it to get into like certain categories, but no one is in love with the movie.
I, I took it out for Wicked this week just because I was like I've heard tale of Wicked being really good. Uh
Part one.
part one. And so I was like, I think I'm actually gonna put it in. Because I think that like Gladiator will make a lot of money. And I think it's not gonna be like Barbenheimer, but I think they both will reinvigorate the
I am not calling it Wicked or whatever.
I don't that I'm
No,
out on. But
that's so
I think they both will do really well. I think they'll both be very well received by mainstream audiences and be thought of as good by most people. And so I think that could get it in. And that's why I put it in over Blitz. But I could still see Blitz making it in. Like we said, I think
I think it just caters to a certain demographic. Like maybe it's the
and
mom demographic.
and it could be like, yeah, like I don't have it in right now for production design. I went against Adam Stockhausen, but I think costumes, production design, score, and sound as below the line are like
Or
in,
for Hans Zimmer for Blitz, not Dune Part Two.
I think those four are like in play for it certainly. And Saoirse is obviously its best shot above the line to me, so it's possible. And the category is still soft, so I think it could get in. Amelia Perez, I'm interested that Matthew said that because I think online people are ready to not like this movie. I don't know if you noticed this, Joyce.
Oh, I mean, we've discussed this before. It's like it's gonna be the villain
And they're already
once
very
it becomes publicly available.
so they're ready for it to be the Oscar villain. And I saw people being like, I saw tweets in my algorithm that were like, "Man, this bombed at London Film Festival. They did not like it." But obviously that's not true because Matthew was there and it was like it was a
I did see that. I think was that like just out of their PNI or something because the public screening went over well.
yeah. I don't
This was a
know.
couple
Maybe it
weeks
was.
ago.
Maybe that was the
Yeah.
difference. But I was like, I was like, that seems like not
Yeah, that
true.
wound up in my feed. And I was like
And
I don't think it would bomb like that. Like
it
I think
hasn't in any of these
yeah.
places. Any places. It's been traveling really well. This one is from Chris, Joyce, not me, the different Chris, who emailed us at slugfest@goldderby.com. Hi, Joyce and Chris. I've got a couple of Oscar scenarios for you, and I would love to hear your thoughts on their likelihood. Nickel Boys win cinematography. Historic win following similar paths as the zone of interest in sound. Anora is nominated for 5 Oscars and sweeps picture, director, actress, screenplay, and editing. Hitman gets into 2 or 3 categories and wins best adapted screenplay when everybody realizes
This is your burner.
when everybody realizes Richard Linklater is Oscarless and no other auteur writer had strength in the category. Amelia Perez gets 0 song nominations. The Substance experiences Oscar success, picture, director, screenplay, makeup, but is snubbed in actress, similar to Triangle of Sadness. Love the pod. Keep up the great work. That's from Chris, not me. This is not my burner, but the Hitman
I
shit
mean,
I'm
that'd be
in on.
such like the perfect troll job. Your burner is your actual name.
Let's go through these. Nickel Boys win cinematography. I have it in. I don't know if it'll win.
Yeah, I don't know if it'll win either. And I wouldn't say it's exactly, I understand the comp, but I wouldn't say it's exactly the same as Zone of Interest's sound win. I
Yeah.
think Zone of Interest maybe surprisingly played better with everyone. I'm including regular people in that than expected. And I don't think Nickel Boys would be like that.
I guess we'll soon find out. We know the critics really like it, and we know that
Yes.
normies seemingly are not as
Walk
hot.
out of the movie.
So we'll see how it plays. But I do think it's got a lot of critic support coming in the next
Mhm.
like 6 weeks. Nora for 5 Oscars. I mean, I have it for all 5 of those for me, but I don't know if it'll win.
I don't think it would do that, and I don't think it would win editing. Um, I think I really like the film, but I found it a wee bit too long. And some scenes kind of it could have been trimmed. Sean Baker, editor.
Wow. Hitman 2 or 3 categories. Well, I actually have it in for adapted screenplay. I think that is like I think it's a sleeper waiting in plain sight because of Rick, and I think people really like the movie, and it's a weak category.
I, I also, but I don't think anyone cares that he has not won an Oscar.
I don't
So,
think it'll win, but I actually do think he could get in. I really don't think that's like totally it would be totally shocking. Amelia Perez 0 song nominations. I could see it, Joyce.
I only have it for one.
So I have it only for one too, and I could see it not getting in for either. And I wonder when a movie has so many songs or like so many picks, even though they can only, you know what I
Well,
mean? Like, I don't
they're
know.
just
I
campaigning
know,
those.
but like, I don't know. I could see it not getting in.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, the songs don't need to break out like Bruno did or anything.
Right. Or La La Land though.
But yeah, that wasn't like a huge hit either. But I think they're just not earwormy.
Yeah. No, it's right. I think that's true. And I think it's the power of the musical aspect of Amelia Perez to me is the cumulative aspect of the music, not
It's yeah,
the
it's
individual
like the sum of
songs.
its parts.
Yes. So I don't know if one of those stands out. Substance for Best Picture, I would be just shocked. But director, I think, is within reason. Screenplay, I think, is also within reason. And makeup, I absolutely think will happen.
I have it in first and
I have him first in makeup too.
yeah,
Um,
it could totally get these and no acting.
I, I want to find a place to put it Coralie in for it, and I think I'll probably end up with screenplay, but I just got to figure out how I want to get her in. But I'd be shocked for picture. That would just be psychotic. Uh, Next up is Sean Joyce. Emailed us at slugfest@golder.com. Hi, Joyce and Chris. I'm wondering who you think could end up being the biggest snub or biggest surprise of 2025. I'm talking the jaw-dropping moments no one predicted, like Lakeith Stanfield getting in for Judas and the Black Messiah, Judi Dench beating out Katrina Balfe for Belfast, or my personal least favorite, my personal least forgivable snub, Amy Adams for Arrival. I know these are nearly impossible to predict, but that's what makes it fun. Let's start with the snubs. Could the Academy's traditionalists be hesitant to recognize the incredible work by Carla Sofia Gascon? If the piano lesson falls off their radar, could they snub Daniel Detweiler twice? For surprises, if the piano lesson picks up momentum, could Samuel Jackson get it despite the small part? If they go for the leads in The Apprentice, The Substance, or Baby Girl, could Maria Bakalova, Margaret Qualley, or Harris Dickinson get coattail nominations? And lastly, could a surprise nomination be get us another supporting actor duo? What about Alessandro Nivola joining Guy Pearce for The Brutalist? I've heard praise for Lucian Massamati in Conclave. Could he join Tucci or Lithgow? I would love to hear if anyone sticks out to you. Thanks for your sharp analysis. That's from Sean.
Wow. I feel like with the shocking snubs, it needs to be someone everyone is expecting a nomination for, like
Yes.
Amy Adams in Arrival.
Uh,
So, and I wouldn't even count Danielle as one of those possibilities because, as we've discussed, we think she's vulnerable because she's a potential low nominee for that movie.
I think she would count though because everyone has her like second. So
Yeah, I think she would count for like normies, But like if you're actually following this, I don't think it would be that shocking if she were to miss after hitting everything. Um,
The people I thought of for snubs that jumped out to me at least are Jock Audiard for director. I just feel like that could be one. I know it's not an actor, but I'm like, that feels like one where everybody's going to predict him. I think he could be 4 or 5 on a lot of ballots, and all of a sudden he misses, and people are like, "What the fuck? Like, how did that happen?" Um, if we're not counting Danielle, the other supporting, I would go to the other supporting category and say Clarence Macklin for Sing Sing is another person everyone has penciled in, and I could see him missing too. Those would be my shocking snubs, even though it's not that shocking because I don't think people know who Clarence Macklin is at this point. Broadly, no disrespect, but like he's not like Daniel Deadweiler in the public space.
I wonder if it could be Angie.
So I was gonna bring this up. I so last year I was a trendsetter, Joyce, on the Leo's missing from Telluride. Bet David Ehrlich money. It's like he's not getting in.
Yeah, the $20.
No passion. Not getting in. And he missed. And then I won that bet with David Ehrlich and then didn't get invited to his birthday party. And you do the math.
$20. It's the math.
Now this year I was like, Angelina Jolie's not making it in. Remember I said this, I had her out, and then I saw it and I was like, well, she's really good. I'll put her in. I don't know. I mean, I would say she's more like Leo than anybody in this race, where it's a giant movie star, but she's also really good in the movie and has the benefit of
Yeah,
Netflix.
she's not, I think Leo's performance is more unlikable than hers.
And
So
so, while I don't think there will be a lot of passion for this performance, and I think she is like a Margot Robbie 4 or 5, or maybe 3 4 5, I I do think she'll be getting in. But if she got snubbed, I would not be surprised. I don't know if I'm going to predict
yeah,
that
I think
snub though.
she's probably the most similar to Amy in Arrival, where I think everyone agrees she's good in it, but I don't know if she is a lot of people's number ones. And then maybe it's like Marianne gets a lot of number ones, or Demi gets a lot of number ones, and
You could,
they just leapfrog her, and then she's just racking up the 4 5s, and that's just not enough with the system they use.
and
And like, like Carla, I don't think she would be snubbed because I think there's just like among the acting branch, I think a lot of actors just really love that movie. Like
I,
Greta Gerwig's jury gave the four of them a joint Best Actress prize at Cannes.
I feel like Mikey, Carla, I think Nicole is like rapidly safe in this race.
Nicole is that feels more like a number one getter than Angie.
So, and Marianne Jean Baptiste, we know is a number one getter. And then
Like Demi could get number ones.
Demi could get number ones. And I wonder if Demi knocks Angie out in the end.
I mean,
Am I going to
even I would
predict
say
this?
even I feel like Saoirse for the Outrun could get more number ones than Angie. Like people who the few people who have seen the Outrun love her performance in it. And you could also argue like with Blitz, I don't think that matters, but you know.
I,
I don't know if anyone thinks like this is the best performance of Angelina Jolie's career.
no. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like, if you told me right now that Angie doesn't get in, I would not be surprised. Maybe I should take her out. I feel like I was like I had her out before I saw the movie, remember? And then I was like, oh, I put her back in. Um, yeah, I don't know. I could see it. I could see that happening, especially I think if Demi continues like the scenario, like Marianne G. Baptiste winning New York Film Critics Circle, right? Like, maybe, but like maybe Demi at LA gets one of the performance awards, or maybe she wins at the Gotham
They get two. They
Awards.
could name two, remember?
Right. So she could be win there. Maybe she gets nominated at the Gotham Awards, right? Or like is factoring in there. She was already at like the Academy Gala and stuff, right, with Margaret. Um Maybe she gets in at SAG. I'm ready to put her in over Amy for SAG, even though they love Amy. But I'm like ready to put Demi Moore in for SAG, even though it's not saggy, like in typical SAG fashion. I'm like, it could be. Like maybe. I don't know. Like they've never taken her seriously as an actor, I would say, the industry as a whole. But also it's like, oh, like man, Demi Moore's been through a lot, like classic actor story, right? Like kind of thing. So I don't know. I could see her really getting in. And then once that momentum builds, maybe she does get like number ones, even more so. How about
Yeah.
what was the other option there? Surprises, did he ask for?
Yes, like a Lakeith.
That no one's thinking of.
Yes.
So Demi Moore would not count in that
No.
case.
I mean, we're also presuming that this person would not hit any precursors
Correct.
too.
I really liked where he was at with Harris Dickinson for Baby Girl.
I have him in at the Globes.
I think that's a good one. Um, Other person I was thinking of, I don't know if this could count though, but I was like, I do think Margaret could be a surprise. But I mean, people have her in. You have her in. I think you said at the Globes already, so that's not like
Yeah.
that much of a surprise.
I think just because its release has been botched, uh Adam Pearson for A Different Man.
I think that would be one for sure. And then I think there's room in actor, but I don't know who it would be. So
Yeah. And then double nominees. I could see, I mean, I already have double nominees for Amelia Perez in supporting actress. I don't know what other in
you
this
could say in
category.
Conclave, but I don't believe that.
No,
We
because
talked
that
about
was
that
already
yesterday.
I mean, maybe if Honora really explodes, it could be double Honora supporting
Oh my God,
actors.
that'd be awesome. TikTok, Instagram, TikTok, Instagram.
He doesn't have Instagram. He's an adult.
This one's from Zach. Emailed us at slugfest@goldor.com. Hi, Joyce and Chris. I'm loving the mailbag episodes, and I love that you all get so many questions to warrant such a thing. Me too, Zach. I love it too. Keep emailing us. I have three short questions for you this week. Number one, I'm very intrigued by September 5, and I'll hopefully be seeing it at the Austin Film Festival over the weekend. However, I'm not sure I really get what kind of package it could get where that would land it in Best Picture. What do you think the most likely nominations package for September 5 is? And what do you think its best Oscar morning looks like? Number two, if a complete unknown is an Oscar movie like you all discussed last week, that seems to me to put Best Actor race in super flux. Who do you think, in the absence of Timothée Chalamet, would make the cut? My hope is that Jesse Eisenberg can sneak in for its really good performance in A Real Pain, or maybe Nicholas Hoult in the most anticipated About a Boy reunion of the year, juror number two. And for my last question, can you talk about your predictions for the shortlist and original score? Which 15 movies do you think will make the list? I'd love to hear your thoughts on the
God.
categories, but that may be a whole episode of itself. I mean, Zach, you could produce this show. That's fine. Maybe we'll do that as a separate episode, Joyce. So
Well, not Dune.
Dune's
So
out. I don't want to do that right now, but let's do the other ones. Complete Unknown. We'll go backwards. So Timmy's out. You have the three guys we've talked about endlessly. Timmy somehow misses the
you
cut.
already have Paul Mescal in.
So what would you do there? Because you have seven. Would you
I
put
have
Paul
Seb.
in?
I'm like looking at everyone below them.
Like
I guess Paul. Yeah. I don't think I would do Daniel Craig.
I would not do Daniel Craig. I would if I had to drop Timmy, I would still not go back to Seb. I think I would do Jesse Eisenberg because I loved him in the movie, which
Yeah,
maybe is the
Jesse's
wrong way
really
of thinking
great.
of
Like
it.
I think he'll definitely get the Globe nomination in
Yeah,
acting
so
because
good. I
he's
think
lit.
think he's
Um,
great.
and I feel like that is a movie we'll talk about it more next week because it
Yes,
opens next week.
yes,
But yeah, I think it's been kind of under the radar because it premiered in Sundance and then it was just kind of out of sight, out of mind for a bit while people were getting excited for new movies that were going to premiere at the fall festivals.
yeah,
And obviously Kieran has gotten most of the choose for it so far out of Sundance.
yes.
So he's kind of been forgotten a little bit. Yeah, I can see Jesse doing it. Yeah, I don't know about like John David Washington. I don't
I don't know.
Ethan Hersey, Nickel Boys. I like we've talked about, I think, for the acting branch. And I think it's a the style is just not very friendly to make you appreciate the acting.
Yes. And then September 5, Joyce. So we both have it in for picture.
I mean, it could be like past lives. It could like get picture and screenplay.
I have picture, screenplay, editing, and Peter Sarsgaard. So that's the package I have.
I think I still have it in editing, right? I think I still, yeah.
And I think there's a world actually where it's such a great movie. I can't think of the director's name. Tim Feinbaum, right? Fellbaum.
Yeah.
He pulls a Tom McCarthy and gets in if it's like a top five movie to me. He could definitely get in, like in the Tom McCarthy mold. So
I mean, I
I
think the
think,
movie would have to be really, really
yeah,
strong for
yeah,
that to
yeah,
happen.
definitely.
Like I think Floor is like lower tier Best Picture and original screenplay,
That's like the floor. I think the two. It's like
which is like entirely possible. So
the women talking Nickel Boys kind of package. But it has, I think,
Nickel
editing.
Boys.
Well, Nickel Boys, I think, is only going to get picture and like cinematography this year, or maybe adapted
They
screenplay.
only go get adapted screenplay. That thing is empty.
Will it though? I don't know. I don't have it
What are you
as.
going to put in an adapted screenplay?
You're gonna laugh in my face
You're
because
going to
it's
put
all.
the Hitman in 5 slots.
I have Hitman. Here's what I have. You're gonna laugh in my face. It's not even like I have Sing Sing, Hitman, The Room Next Door, Wild Robot, and Conclave. I booted Nickel Boys. I don't have Amelia Perez, and I don't have Dune.
I mean, I don't have Amelia Perez either. So
And I could make the argument. You could say Wild Robot maybe doesn't get in. So if I drop Wild Robot, I'd put Nickel Boys in. But I think the other four are like really reasonable. Um.
yeah,
Anyway,
I mean, like, it doesn't need to get a lot of nominations. Like,
no.
we've had a lot of Best Picture nominees with one other
Yeah.
nomination. So I don't know. I think it's because this movie is predicted to win by one person
Yeah.
that people
Uh.
think of this. It's like I don't think it's like a sleeping giant by any means, but I think it's a really well-made, taut thriller. It's kind of like Argo
It
in a
is. I
way.
mean, it's like Argo. We
Yeah,
said this.
like I
It's
don't
like
think it's winning Best
Spotlight.
Picture, but
It's
it's like
like
that vibe.
that. The reason I think people like I don't know Scott to speak for him, but I'm like Scott Feinberg had it number one. But I'm like it is like Argo and Spotlight. That is a great comp for it. And I don't know if it's better than those movies, but it's certainly like in the conversation with those movies. I think Spotlight was probably the best of those three. And then
Yeah.
I think September 5 and Argo, which I haven't really seen in a decade. So I'd be like, right now, recency bias. I'm like, I think September 5 was a little better, but I really did enjoy Argo. But it's like those movies. Those movies won Best Picture. So I could see like the correlation there. I mean, most likely, I would say picture, screenplay, editing, maybe Skarsgård because it's like a weak category. Um, I don't know if it's going to win, though, obviously. I don't, it could be a juggernaut. Who knows? Uh, this was from Amir Taha, who emailed us last week, Joyce, I believe. Hi, guys. My first question for you is how do you think Seed of the Sacred Fig will do at the Oscars? It's a surefire bet for international feature, but do you think it will crack the top five in original screenplay or perhaps even Best Picture? I personally think Best Picture is unlikely, but I can easily see it getting a nom for screenplay. Also, what do you think of The Room Next Door? I think its best shot at Oscar recognition is either screenplay or Best Actress for Tilda Swinton, and then maybe score. I think that'll be recognized in other award ceremonies more, but I'd love to hear your opinions as well. And along those lines, I just want you to know what you think about Best Director overall this year. I think Brady Corbet, Sean Baker, and Jacques Audiard will definitely make it in. I would love Denis Villeneuve to get a nomination since he was unbelievably snubbed for Dune. And then for the fifth slot, I'm a bit skeptical. I think that between Edward Berger, Ridley Scott, Steve McQueen, Corleif RJ, and Pedro Almodovar, any of them can get in. What do you think? Thanks. It's from Amir Taha.
Yeah, I don't think Seed of the Sacred Fig will get into picture. Screenplay possible.
I I would be more confident in screenplay if screenplay was softer. I just think that original screenplay is
Yeah,
really crowded. I don't even have I like
it is.
so right now
Or
the
if it
top
were adapted.
yeah, if it was adapted, I think I'd put it in. Top five in the odds for original screenplay are Honora, The Brutalist, A Real Pain, Blitz, and Saturday Night. Then September 5 is in sixth, Hard Truth in seventh, The Substance in eighth, Seed of the Sacred Fig in ninth, Challengers 10th, and Baby Girl in 11th. I put Baby Girl in. Uh, but any of these movies I think could get in. I don't know, The Substance. I could barely fit the movies I want to get in here.
Yeah. So, um, so I don't. Yeah, that'll be more likely than Best Picture, I would say.
Room Next Door, we saw this New York Film Festival. Not my favorite Almodovar movie by any stretch.
It's also unserious, so I enjoyed it. But oh yeah, not my favorite Pedro. But
And so I'll be curious to see. I agree with you. I thought it was like unserious and good. That was a feature, not a bug. But the crowd was not laughing as much as I was. There's some really funny parts. John Turturro's like a total goof in it. Um, like I said, I talked to Tom Bernard. He's very bullish on it.
I mean, you have it in everywhere. We know that now.
Well, I put it in for director because along those lines, I think that what Amir Taha has here about director feels right-ish. I think all those names are the names. And so I do think Almodovar could get in. We were talking about this. There's not like a brand, like Ridley is like the brand name, right? Like the big guy. I mean, Almodovar might be this, no disrespect to like Steve McQueen and Denis, but I mean, maybe Almodovar is like the next up, like in terms of like global recognition. I mean, he's like one of the most famous directors ever. Historically, not Academy's favorite, but just in general world.
I mean, I have it getting in score and screenplay right now.
And I added it. So I have score, screenplay, and director. I don't. I have not moved the move for Tilda because I just think there's not. I think there's just too many Stony Classics actresses, and I think there's more passion possibly for other people than her. So
Yeah, I have her in at the Globes, I think.
yeah, I do too.
Not Julianne Moore. Uh, yeah, and then like with the film itself, I mean, I suppose it could get into picture. I feel like it needs to pick up steam.
And if it was any other distributor, I would say goodbye, but
Yeah,
it's
but
not.
like they can work their magic.
So they're great. I mean, they
Yeah.
the track record of Sony Classics getting uh challenging movies watched and embraced is not insignificant. So
They're also really focused with their campaigns. Like
yes,
they're like focused with the Academy. So they really tailor their campaigns to the Academy.
yes.
So they're not like it doesn't they're not sweating if they miss precursors. Like they did this like with the father, you know?
And parallel mothers maybe too. And also they're not Twitter's not real life, so they don't care about the film Twitter noise either. So I think it's still a very possibility that Almodovar gets in for director, and I think screenplay and score are also increasingly likely. I mean, if Tilda Swinton got in, I would not be shocked. But I would say the challenge there is, like we said, not a performance I could see getting a lot of number ones or as many number ones as some of these other performances we mentioned. And Julianne Moore is no slouch in the movie. She's actually great. And so like I think they're both leads. Like I don't disagree with the placement, but I'm like I do wonder if like Julianne could like siphon off some votes.
Yeah, and I also wonder because of kind of the tone is a little like off in the film.
Yes.
It's not a melodrama really. It's a drama, but I think there are some kind of like sly jokes and especially in their performances too. And I wonder if because it does deal with a serious topic like cancer and death and assisted death, that I wonder if people don't know how to feel about watching it and like what to take away from the performances or the film, you know?
I thought that too. I would say that Julianne Moore's performance in the movie is to me like what Elizabeth in May December would have done with a Julianne Moore performance in a Pedro Almodovar movie. Does that make sense? That was how I read it. I don't know. Um, who's next here? Oh, Haslam. This is, Joyce, a couple weeks ago we were at the New York Film Festival, and I told you I was checking in, and one of the ushers was like, "Oh, I love your show." Like Chris Rosen, he knew me. It was very nice. I had a nice conversation with him. Well, he finally emailed. His name was Haslam, Joyce.
Wow, 3 weeks later. Great.
Dear Joyce and Chris, hi, how are you? Chris, it was great meeting you and chatting with you in the lobby of Alice Tully Hall. You were gracious enough to spend a few minutes talking to me about movies and the Oscars, and I could have spoken to you for hours about film. I was able to see 20 films at the New York Film Festival, and my
Wow.
top three were Seed of the Sacred Fig, The Brutalist, and Nickel Boys. I listen consistently to the Gold Derby podcast, and I love the insight that you and Joyce provide to the listening audience. Kudos to a job well done. That's from Haslam. Not even a question.
Wow. So just gassing us up.
Gassing us
3 weeks.
up. You knew I was going to read that shit. Seed of Sacred Fig, another winner, and The Brutalist there, and Nickel Boys. So that was the vibe of the New York Film Festival. That like encapsulates it right there. I
Yeah.
feel like.
Mhm.
Uh, Next up we have Grammar David Joyce. David R.
He's back.
He's back and he's mad.
About what? We haven't had a game from Mike in a while.
My Queen Joyce and my favorite fuckboy Chris. This week I've been thinking about plot holes. You may recall my leftovers plot rant from last year. The fucking brats being airlifted away. Well, this year is no exception. I love The Substance, but come on, the activation kit and weekly food supplies were free. Even my factory meals are $150 a week. I know my queen, Joyce, not everything has to be explained, but I have OCD about these details. So my question, what's a movie from any decade with the most memorable plot hole that you can recall? Thanks, that's David R. P.S. Lame Master Mike, quit pouting and submit a game already, as if you don't have a spiral notebook filled with ones ready to go.
Oh my God. Now the tide has turned. We're waiting for his return with the game.
No
It's
emails
been
from Mike,
so
second week in
long.
a row. Mike maybe took all the knocks personally. I don't know. Uh,
I mean,
shots
oh my,
fired from David R.
I mean, what's he gonna do if we don't have a game next week
I don't
from
know.
Mike?
Lose his
Oh my
mind.
Oh my God, plot holes. I mean, there are we discussed offline about some of the plot holes or dangling threads in Gladiator II. They're just like, why didn't this happen? And I know it's just for convenience of the script, but it's yeah,
It's not it's not airtight.
no.
I also had issues with Blitz, the script of Blitz, where I was
Oh
just like,
yes, we talked about this.
where where's the map? That would be my first question.
And also like, like these days, like people, because we're so reliant on GPS and we have the internet, we could just Google Maps everything. Like we don't necessarily need to know by memory where things are, but I feel like I'm like growing up, you know, I didn't have the internet growing up most of my childhood. And like we had maps and we like I knew when I was a child like how to get home and like train routes and bus routes, and George in the film, he seems pretty smart. He's 9. And I feel like once he got to Piccadilly,
He should figure it out. Also,
yeah.
I was thinking this 9 in 1942 or whenever this movie is a lot different than 9 now because these kids
Yes,
now
yes,
don't know anything. No
yes.
disrespect to children, but I'm like, they're
Yeah.
really coddled. 9-year-olds
Yep.
then is like, go work in the, they're going to be working
They would
probably.
kick our asses. Like
That boy probably had a job at 9.
during the war, during the
Yeah.
Blitz.
Yeah. So you're going to work in
Yeah,
the
I don't know. What
factory
other
making
plot holes are
bombs.
there?
Uh, I don't know. Anyway.
Um, yeah, I mean the substance one is yeah, again, it's just for convenience of
Nothing in the substance is real. How about the fact that
yeah,
like what is Mark Quelly's character's name? I forget. Sue, right?
yeah,
It's Elizabeth is
Elizabeth
Elizabeth.
Sparkle.
Yeah. Sue is looking in backstage and just immediately like finding jobs and stuff and like no like none of it makes any sense, but it's a heightened satire, so it's okay, I think.
Yeah.
This one is from Steven who emailed us at slugfest@goldderby.com. Hi Joyce and Chris. I want to start with Pamela Anderson in The Last Showgirl. I don't believe either of you have seen this. Do you know of anyone who has? I've heard little mention from you guys, and I really think this could be the surprise performance of the year. I will even go out on a limb and say I think it could be more successful than The Substance in terms of industry awards and hopefully recognition for Pamela at major award shows. How cool would it be to have Demi and Pam both nominated? And again, Jamie Lee Curtis. Do we need to say more? Another movie getting little mention so far is The Room Next Door. Oddly enough, I was vacationing in the Cayman Islands last week, and I
The
noticed this
Cayman
movie
Islands,
playing.
fancy.
And I noticed this movie was playing in the theater. I didn't understand why because I thought it was a Christmas release, but then I realized Cayman is a British island, and that's why it was released on October 18th. I just found it super cool to be able to watch a movie hardly anyone will see for a couple of months. For a split second, I felt like both of you when you get to see stuff weeks and months before us listeners. I thought it was a beautiful movie, exceptional cinematography, and the performances were awards worthy. I really think Tilda can be nominated. I'm not sure on Julianne. It's an understated performance, but I really enjoyed it. I hope we can get a couple of other below the line nominations. Have either of you seen it? I think we needed to add it to our discussion. And finally, I was listening to your Oscars host discussion a couple of weeks ago, and someone popped in my head. Kelly Clarkson. Now wait before everyone gets testy. She is the perfect age demographic, has the #1 talk show, and is extremely talented, and was the best host ever for the Billboard Music Awards, and has a film credit to her name. In all seriousness, I think it could be fun. Imagine her opening the show singing a medley of the most popular movie themes. She doesn't even have to have as much hosting responsibilities as, say, Jimmy Kimmel does each year, but you could just have her open the show, come back midway through, and close it out. I think it would work, and it needs to be considered. I really do appreciate everything you both do. I can't imagine award season or any season without you guys. Take care. That's from
Wow.
Steven.
Well, the last Showgirl, they're just starting the rollout.
I got an invite to see it, but
It,
I don't think I can make it.
um,
I'm looking at that
yeah,
invite.
they're because it just got dated a couple weeks ago. So,
Uh,
uh,
there's screenings this week that I did not go to, but I'm hoping they'll send more, I guess.
yeah, there's time. It doesn't come out until December 13th. So,
In theaters nationwide, January 25th. Roadside attractions.
yeah.
Lot of room next door love this week, not just because of Tom Bernard, it seems.
What did he know when he talked to you at the Montclair Film
I
Festival?
don't know, but I was like, I don't think it's wrong. I don't know. I think that's one that could come back, especially as like some of these other movies are
Yeah,
not it,
I've never been out on it.
right?
Like, so, um, yeah, I think it's up to SPC and getting people to watch it. And yeah, like I have it in two places right now. So
And I love Kelly Clarkson, one of my favorite artists, Joyce, as you might expect. I'm not a big watcher of her show, but I think she'd be great Oscar host. I agree.
yeah, the issue there is her show is on NBC and the Oscars are on ABC, which is home to American Idol now. But um yeah, it'll be a lot easier if, her show were on ABC, like Jimmy Kimmel's is.
Yes.
So yeah, I think she could do no wrong, so people would love her. And I do think she would do a good job with it. It is also funny how her talk show has become a stop on press tours for everyone.
Hmm.
So she gets like all the Oscar people on her show,
Yeah.
you know. So, but yeah, I mean, like maybe they've already asked her. Who knows?
Two more. This one's from Gabriel, a different Gabriel than the one who's often emailed us. Hi, Joyce and Chris. First time caller, long time listener here. As a proud Brazilian, I wanted to get your insight into the award's chances for I'm Still Here. Do you believe it is likely that it could get nominated for international feature? And in case that happens, could you see it winning? Amelia Perez is understandably the favorite here, but do you guys see a situation where the voters who are put off by the Audiard musical get behind something more sober and less flashy, like Walter Sales's real life drama? The topic the movie covers is something that is deeply important to be discussed in Brazilian society, but I'm not sure how much its impact translates to US audiences voters. So I'd love to hear what you guys have to say about it. There's also Fernanda Torres. Her mother, Fernanda Montenegro, was nominated in the 90s for Central Station, another sales joint. Could you see Torres following in her footsteps? Thanks a bunch in advance, or as we say here in Brazil, obrigado.
Obrigado.
That's from Gabriel.
I mean, I have Fernanda Torres at the Globes.
She's somebody we mentioned. I forget who sent the email, but we mentioned earlier as like a surprise on Oscar. I mean, she feels like a potential number one person, right? Number one getter gets in there in the end. Who knows how the international body sways things? Do you think she'd get in at like BAFTA?
Well, there's no more juries,
Mm-hmm.
so a little bit tougher. Um, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think she'll need a lot of critics support
Yeah.
in the run up too. So, but like the film itself, I think it will get into international. I don't know about winning. Like maybe it could win if it were just the branch voting for the winners.
It seems unlikely that anything would stop Amelia Perez.
Yeah, because it's not just Emilia Perez. Like there's also Seat of Sacred Fig,
Sarah Fig would be probably second. So I don't know. Uh, last one here, Joyce. And if you emailed us and I didn't get to your email, I'm saving it. I'll either get to it next week or you can email again. We get so many emails, Joyce. We don't have time for them all. Email us at slugfest@goldderby.com. This one's from a sad but not surprised Guardians fan.
Oh, I'm sorry. Condolences.
Chris and Joyce, I'm sorry about the Mets. As far as I am concerned, the World Series is canceled this year.
It's true.
This World Series starts tonight, Joyce, Friday night. Jack Flaherty versus Garrett Cole. Dodgers
I'm not
Yankees.
watching. I don't care. Like baseball's over until spring training, right? As
Uh,
of
I,
Sunday night. It,
I
it's it's over.
will also not watch, but I will be very much rooting for the Dodgers. Uh, I think you have to have a deep character flaw to root for the Yankees.
Yes.
So I just That's it.
I mean, several of my friends are Yankees fans, and
Some of
just
my
like,
closest friends are Yankee fans, but if
why?
all Yankee fans just
You were not raised correctly.
if they got leftovered, I would be like, man, that sucks. I can't talk to my friends anymore. But such is life, you know.
You made the choice. So, uh, yeah, it sucks. I mean, great season for our boys.
I love the whole thing. I love the season. It was a fantastic season, total house money season. They played great, even in the game, even when they lost Joyce. Last inning, still got a run. They never gave up. So I'm
No.
very excited for the rest of the season. I'm very excited for the
Very we
Dodgers.
had very strong Moneyball vibes, even though we have all the money in the world.
Yeah. I took
But
issue
just
with
the
that because
vibes
I
of
saw people like tweeting about that. I'm like, we had, it's like gotcha because of how terribly managed the team was, but it was like $90 million of dead cap space or dead budget was just paid. They had not none of those guys were on the roster. So while it was like a $300 million payroll, it's actually only like
yeah, it's not the same
210.
as the fucking Dodgers or
Right. Or
Yankees.
the Yankees.
And also we are the most tortured team and the most tortured fan base.
It's
So
definitely
it's
up
like
there. It's definitely up
and
there.
and just like Yankees Dodgers, no one wants this. This is just like corporate propaganda. And then I mean like even before the World Series was set last week, like Apple pre-announced, pre-grieved that they have a docu-series about the 2024 playoffs and they're going to cover the World Series. And it's like no one wants this if it's Yankees Dodgers. Those are just fake fans. And like that's what it is. And then when it was after Sunday, it was like, oh, they like formally announced it with it, like Yankees Dodgers. And it's like, no. It's like it's not interesting.
Absolutely on track to be the worst Apple movie since Palmer.
Not watching it. It does not exist in my
Sight
mind.
unseen. Worst Apple movie since Palmer. Um, yeah, I don't like that. I don't like the Yankees. I'll root for the Dodgers. And then not think about it at all. Not no, no. And the Guardians, I was not a
The
fan of what I
Guardians
saw.
tried. Like
Did they?
yes, they did. I mean, they didn't get shut out like we fucking did. Okay.
Okay. I mean, like, not not sending their best. I don't think that was my take on the Guardians.
No, I mean, it's very similar to us. Like they like hit a wall. I mean, like listen, they did really well after losing Bieber.
It wasn't the pitching that I was so disgusted with because I know their bullpen was fraud style, but the lineup was just they were never going to score runs against the Yankees. They had to wait around for like hilarious home
I know,
runs.
but then like we basically did what they did in game six. Like they left a lot of people on base and we left 12 people stranded in game six. It was like
But
the
our
same.
lineup, I was like,
Our
again,
lineup is good, but
good.
I think we also just hit the wall and
So
then our pitching hit the wall. Like Sean, I mean, like
you saw, I was thinking this, you saw like the Mets pitching, Mania in game two. I was like, oh man, like you saw in the game him hit the wall, and then he was never better
I
and
know.
never
And then
come
everyone
back.
was like so amped for game
Six.
six. Yeah, when
Tough, tough
I
beat.
also kind of feel like the tone setter was bad in game one with Kodai Senga. Like
I didn't
no, like he's still in like spring training. Like he's just coming back. We
I
can't
was not
start
as
him.
mad about that, but game two, I was like, this is bad because it reminded me so much of the Philly series where this is for like the real ones. But I was
No one,
like,
everyone has stopped listening.
but in the Philly series, it was like, oh, we won game one, like decisively, like they were down, but like not really. Like it was like Phillies were up like what, 1-0, 2-0. We just kind of put a lot of hits together and won game one. And then game two, that Philly had to have, we took the lead and they kept coming back. And then we kept coming back on Philly. And then they won in the bottom, they walked us off. And I remember watching that game and being like, man, we would have won if we had another at bat. And I had no doubt we were going to win the series. And I felt like the Dodgers, they won game one pretty decisively against us. In game two, we came out and smacked them in the mouth. And then they kept coming back. And like, even though the game wasn't close, it ended up being like very stressful, I think, if you're watching game two. Whereas like we really could have lost this game. They needed like a bailout double play. And like nobody really
Yeah, like
played that
our
well.
wins were we had to work for them.
And then I was like, they're not as good. And so like I'm hoping the Dodgers will just run through the Yankees, who did not really have to play anyone and have all
No.
the flaws that they've had uh present.
Well, also the other issue is like we've just been on the road for 3 weeks, like since September 30th, and like we never had home advantage,
No.
you know?
Uh
Like we've had no rest. That's the
no.
thing. And I think it's like best of five, best of seven. That's just a lot. That's a lot of baseball.
So that's the last time we'll talk about baseball, I think, because it's over. Doesn't matter. But go Dodgers. Email us at slugfest@goldderby.com. And we'll get more emails next week, Joyce. And we'll be back next week, I guess, to talk about Real Pain and other great stuff. Maybe the Gotham Awards by then? Who knows?
I don't know.
Allegedly. All right. Talk to you then. Bye.